I want to talk about the biggest mistakes people make when making a fursuit and how to fix them. So if you're new to this channel, we just went ahead and created this fursuit from scratch, piece by piece. Now I want to talk about the biggest mistakes I made while making it, and hopefully you can learn from those mistakes and make your own fursuit just a little bit better. The point of this being, everyone makes mistakes, and it's really important to kind of learn from those. If you can learn from mistakes, it's literally like a cheat code to getting better as an artist. You get good so fast. The first big mistake I want to talk about is not exaggerating or pushing your characters enough. I think this fursuit's a good example of this. I think this character would be a lot better if we just pushed everything like 120%. So instead of the jaw like closing here, maybe if it closed up here and it was like really pushed, this was like a big snarling toothy grin, I think that would be a lot better. Same could be said about the eyebrows. These eyebrows are good, but I think if they were even just a little bit larger and a little bit more intense and really kind of gave the face more of a kind of three-dimensional shape, I think that would work a lot better. Basically what I'm saying is that you want to push your characters more than you think. Erring on the side of caution is fine, sure, but if you really want to make a good fursuit, you have to give them a personality, and the best way to do that is to take their kind of main mood and just times it times 100, right? Instead of making them sad, make them super sad. It helps with the emotion, it helps with the character building of the fursuit. Someone that's really good at doing these super over-the-top expressive fursuits is More for Less. They're really good at taking the expression and then just doing it to like the 10th degree and making their characters big, exaggerated, and super expressive. If you spend the time and make your fursuit more expressive than you would otherwise, it'll definitely help you stand out in a crowd and help you stand out in a sea of like multicolored, super bright, colorful animals. For the second big mistake that a lot of new fursuit makers do, including myself and especially myself, is relying way too much on hand sewing. By far the biggest time sink of this fursuit head was hand sewing. And I hand sewed the entire thing and it took forever. Trust me, oh, it took so long. I think if we all spend a little bit more time trying to learn the tools around us, we could make fursuits better. Like, I know I'm terrified of the sewing machine because we've all done it where you've made like a cool part and then just absolutely destroyed it, and then had to redo it. But I think in a lot of cases, it would almost be faster to make a piece, destroy it with a sewing machine, and then make a second piece than it would be to hand sew it. Hand sewing, especially some of these bigger pieces, takes ages and it's such a huge time sink. So for my next fursuit, I think I'm gonna try to do the entire head with the sewing machine. It's gonna be really hard, I'm bound to make a ton of mistakes, but it should end up being a lot faster. And I would ask you, YouTube chat, if there are certain parts of the fursuit head that you find yourself hand sewing, ask yourself instead, could you use your sewing machine to do it? Little things like that will speed up your fursuit making process, allow you to make more fursuits faster, and ends up being a big win-win for you. Also, while we're on the topic of hand sewing, I do have a quick tip for you. If you haven't already, pick yourself up one of these. It's a spring-loaded pair of scissors that makes cutting thread with sewing so much easier. If you're still using the classic like paper shear type, those will really start to hurt your wrist after you do a bunch of sewing. And if you get yourself one of these, because it's spring-loaded, it just makes the whole process so much easier. It's a little thing that you can do just to make your fursuit making process a bit easier, and it ends up saving yourself a lot of time in the long run. While we're on the topic of tools, I want to talk about these. These are little tiny bulldog clips, or I've also heard them called alligator clips, but they're probably the most important tool you have at your disposal. With these little clips, you can test fit all of your fur, and it actually makes it really easy. And the importance of that is if you test everything out and line all your pieces up ahead of time, you won't make the mistake of mismatching parts or sewing the wrong part to the head. When you sew the wrong part of the head, it ends up taking so long to redo everything. And if you just spend a little extra time test fitting, you can save yourself all of that headache in the future. These little bulldog clips make the whole process really quick, really fast, and that makes it easier for you to actually spend the time to do it because it isn't a huge pain in the butt. And that goes true with patterning in general. Spending a little bit extra time to test fit stuff will save you a lot of time in the long run. And remember, if you can make a cardboard copy of it, you can turn any 3D object into just 2D templates. The next big mistake that I see out there a lot is using a cheap mannequin head. You can buy them at Walmart and they're like a styrofoam mannequin head and they're a bit small. I think those are just a total trap. You end up having to wrap them in tape to make them the big size, hot glue melts them. Those little styrofoam mannequin heads just end up wasting so much of your time on something that never quite works. They make really nice, like professional mannequin heads, They're about $100. They're so worth your money. This one's Ed Head here. I don't have a sponsorship or anything with them. It's just a really good product. Trust me, once you get one, you can never go back to just using anything else. If you don't have $100, that's super understandable, and it's a lot of money. You can totally make a fursuit without one. I've done it before. It's a bit fiddly and a bit tricky, but you can still get some really cool results. You don't need a fancy mannequin head, but if you had $100, it'd probably be the best use of your like limited budget. You don't need like crazy fancy knives or anything, but a fancy mannequin head is probably one of the big required tools you need. Now this brings me to my final mistake, and what I think is honestly the biggest mistake people make when making a fursuit, and that's not having a lot of patience. Taking a fursuit is such a long process. Do you want to guess how long it took me to make this fursuit head right here? 5 months. That's a long time. Now granted, it should realistically take about half that because I filmed this whole thing and put it on YouTube, but it's still so much more work than people expect. Having the patience and the discipline to say, take the project slow, to really enjoy yourself, you'll end up with a much better product in the long run. We often hear the quote that it takes a professional fursuit maker about a month to create an entire costume, but I think people don't conceptualize that correctly. They're doing it for like a full-time job. That's like what they're doing 40 hours a day, every single day. Like if you're just like me, you have a regular job and family and life and tons of distractions that prevent you from working on this anywhere near that much amount of time. Enjoying the process, making a fursuit, and then having the patience to do it over a long time, I think you'll get a much better result in the long run. So there you go, YouTube. Those are the 5 biggest mistakes I see fursuit makers make when making their fursuit, and honestly, they're 5 big mistakes I made when making this fursuit. If you're new to this channel, we're making this fursuit literally step by step. We're almost gonna start the bodysuit. That'll probably be the next video. We're getting a duct tape dummy made this weekend, and then we'll start getting the foam in to start doing all the digitally leg padding and stuff. You guys will go along on the ride with me. Those videos will start coming out soon. If you made it this far and you felt like these videos have added value to your life, I please ask that you like, comment, subscribe. It does so much to help promote these videos in YouTube's algorithm. You guys are the whole 9 yards. Thank you so much. I hope to see you guys again soon.